deal is this. I'll tell you, when I was a kid, that read Dropper Anton Wilson, all this real. I'll tell you, when I was a kid, that read Dropper Anton Wilson, all this real. Dude, I'm pissed. Dude, I'm pissed. Come on. What? Okay, by the time we finish this, you're all going to be practicing magicians.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I are currently covering Grant Morrison's new X-Men. We are on issue number 130 in the middle of the Phantom X arc, Weapon 12. I don't quite remember what the name of the arc is.
Yeah, I think it's New Worlds, or that's the name of the trade.
Okay. But this is the introduction of the character Phantom X. We have a group of B-Team X-Men in a tunnel getting attacked by something called Weapon 12. Jean Grey, Professor Xavier, and Phantom X, who is ostensibly a super-powered European mutant criminal, are headed over to save them or something. And we have just learned that this has all been a setup to test Weapon 12 against actual, real, trained mutants.
Indeed. We're still in the Cordy art hole.
Yes.
We cut over to the tunnel immediately with our remaining X-Men kind of holed up. You know, they're surrounded by multiple men guarding them from people with glowing eyes and bats and animals and stuff that are infected by this Weapon 12, desperately saying, like, what is plan B? Like, what do we even do? And they basically say, like, we have no plan B.
Gary, this first page is.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the little? Do you see the little Jamie Madrox over there by the "So what's Plan B" text balloon? Just right there on the left hand side, like that little guy who looks like Jamie Madrox. Yeah. But what if he was a literal wee man? Like, what is going on right there?
just a little tiny friend,
just a little tiny dude. And I guess there are bats.
Yeah, I like the bats. It's full of mini Madroxes, though. You know, it's too many like Ant Madrox. Just shrinking. Yeah, I don't care for it. They also just gave him like the simplest to draw uniform, so like a bunch of these just ends up feeling kind of cheap.
Yeah,
I don't know, not good. We cut over to the next thing. When Siren is going to bail him out of this. They like basically say like, Siren, help us, and she says, cover your ears if you don't want this to be the last thing you hear. And she does a big sonic scream to clear everyone out from one side so they can run.
I do like that Weapon 12 has infected the bird population.
Oh, yeah.
You definitely see some birds with these glowing eyes, which I find very hilarious.
Yeah, love it. And then when they're running away from this, we get this, like, the first scene of Weapon 12, like, which is actually pretty cool.
Yes.
Is this giant with this, like, broccoli head, like, bloodborne broccoli head.
That's exactly what I was about to say, yeah.
Really, really cool. And just a legion of birds and people following with glowing eyes. Like, it's a pretty cool panel.
Yeah.
Credit where it's due.
And we switch back over to Jean and Charles and Phantom X, who Phantom X is basically describing like the history of the weapon program. Of the Weapon 0 was classified, 1 was a volunteer, Weapons 2 through 3 were animals, 4 to 5 were various ethnic minorities. And then they found the ideal subjects for the 7 trials and onwards, kidnapped mutants, the scum of the earth. And of course we have a great shot of like the classic Wolverine getting injected with adamantium in Canada kind of picture.
And what's cool about this, so the volunteer is Captain America. The ethnic minorities is one of them is the Black Captain America, who is the dad of the Young Avengers. Patriot, I think is his name. His grandpa. So there's like a Black Captain America. That was a thing that they had like a mini series about in here. One of the things I love though is I don't think they ever reveal who 8 and 9 are.
Oh, interesting.
So they say like they say or 7. So they say 7 onward. So 7, 8, and 9 are mutants, but we don't know who they are. And I don't think that gets elaborated. I could be wrong about that. Like I need to like look up the wiki. It's a really cool idea that 3 of the mutants who are like running around doing cool mutant shit are actually part of this program and we don't know. I think that's neat.
Yeah, extremely cool. Like I like that idea just because you can come back to it like at any point and have a good time with it. Yeah, so he says that Logan was the 10th generation and they've gone very, very far beyond that now.
Yeah. They basically, he's still kind of explaining his backstory. He's talking about Eva or EVA, the spaceship they're in, and he said, "This is my mutation. Like the day my voice changed, I hawked this thing up, and it was about this. It was like super small, and he pulled his fingers apart, and it's been growing. That's a really cool idea.
Yeah,
you have this external organ that is like your friend and has its own consciousness, and that being a mutation. It's like a good version of maggot.
Sure,
you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm rereading the Golden Compass right now. I don't know if you've ever seen that or read those or anything. And there's a concept of having a demon, which is basically like a little, not really a pet, but like basically your soul that lives outside of you that takes the form of an animal. And this feels very much like that to me. Like just like this, there is this thing. And that book, like if you're like a servant, like your demon may take the shape of a dog. Like it's real literal in some cases, but it's still like a kind of a similar thing.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm familiar with those books, but I have not read them. So, so basically, they're arriving at the tunnel.
Yes.
Phantom X is talking about EVA. All this stuff is fake again. That's not his mutation. Like he's a thing, but this is all just part of the big lie. It's something related to him, but he's not a mutant.
Yeah. The big thing that he says about Weapon 12 is that Weapon 12 becomes those he creates. Like his brain just... He spreads like a disease into anything that he touches, which is what we've seen happen. Like anytime he's touching more and more people and it's just spreading out, like and he can't be stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically he's an army that creates his own army, or a soldier that creates his own army. We cut over to the tunnel. Madrox is trying to bargain with him, says like, listen, we're here to help. We help mutants who are in trouble. And he says, you're a mutant, you're in trouble. And basically sticks his fingers into Madrox's head. And starts taking over that specific Madrox clone. And they keep saying the brain, like being touched by him psychically is like worms in your brain. They say that over and over in this, which is evocative.
Yeah.
You can imagine that.
Yeah. And like this is like, it sounds terrible. Like it just sounds like I would imagine like losing possession, losing the ability to think for yourself would be fucking terrifying.
Yep. Yeah. And the idea of this thing that everything he touches becomes an extension of his body is a really cool idea. Real scary. We cut back over to the flying saucer where, the X-Men, the B team is getting out of the tunnel. The A team is jumping out of the flying saucer. Jean Grey is like pauses Weapon 12 so they can get away, like basically uses the Phoenix Force. And Phantom X says like, hey, don't get, watch out with that. Like if you get wrapped up in his thought processes, they're entirely viral.
This image of Charles Xavier on the top right hand side, Gary. Does he have eyebrows underneath his eyes? Is that what's happening here?
Oh my goodness! Like tons of eyeshadow.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It looks like somebody did the prank where you put paint on binoculars.
100%. Yep. 100%. Which I can totally see Phantom X doing to Charles Xavier. By the way, that would be very on brand. Yeah.
He's all misdirection, and then like he just puts it, like, oh, it is a misdirection. Yeah. So basically the idea is Jean Grey is going to pause him long enough for Phantom X to get down there and turn on his off switch.
Yes.
Jean Grey and Professor X receive the team. This is the weird like panel where Jean Grey says Richter has some kind of natural psychic defenses against the infection. So I don't know what that is. I'm not Richter. I'm not one of the dozens of Richter superfans. I think what happened probably was all the people they had showed being touched by Weapon 12 previously, most of them were Madroxes, but they showed Richter getting touched, and then they said, oh shit, we can't actually sacrifice Richter.
Yeah. We're about to kill somebody else. We can't actually kill this person too.
Yeah, maybe they planned to kill them both at some point, and then like editorial said like, no, somebody's got plans for Richter.
Yeah.
So they didn't do it, but you can have Darkstar. And so but this is just such a weird line. Like it's so clumsy. Weird. He's immune to it.
Strange.
Cool.
Okay.
Why was Richter even in this issue? He didn't do anything.
Why include him?
He causes earthquakes. That never happened. Like it's weird. Like it really makes me think that originally he was going to be the sacrifice. and that's why he's the hero and he doesn't do anything. So
we also Jamie Madrox tries to introduce himself to Phantom X, who just completely ignores him, and then asked about Zona, which of course nobody knows what that is. And Phantom X says it's the giant with the external brains. His name is Zona Cluster 6. Like, he had a whole life before they twisted him into a murder machine. Like, where is he? And and also we have to kill him now.
Yeah, before he goes to his pod to be debriefed. He runs down the tunnel. Jean Grey chases him. Basically says there's still people trapped in there. Charles, cover me. They try to stop him, and the way Charles covers him is taking over Madrox's mind. He says, I just need to borrow your nervous system. And he's like, oh, no bother. Don't even try to explain it. I just need to rest.
Don't worry about it. I'm just going to go to sleep for a while. You get to have my body, Charles. That seems totally normal.
I trust you. That's probably a really restful sleep. Like, if I had Charles Xavier, I'd have him put me to sleep all the time.
You wouldn't even have to ask.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I just
you would
sleep forever.
You would just wake up with a new car and kind of a sore donger and not really worry about it.
Don't even explain, Charles. So we cut over to Phantom X doing this kind of action scene that I would pay to see redone with a better artist.
Yeah.
Of him just slaughtering people who are taken over by Weapon 12.
Yeah, lots of flippies, lots of jumping over like rabid dogs and like shooting bullets floating like past frames and everything like that. Like, what could be extremely cool and just is not.
Yeah, it does not look very good. And when he gets to the other side of this throng of humanity, he sees M, and M's like, "Hey, you just killed Darkstar. She was a superhero." And he's like, no, she was infected.
Yeah, and you can actually see that in that last panel. You just can't make out that it's Darkstar at all because, hey, that's what we're dealing with. Like, that's the chick.
It's really,
it's
garbage.
And of course, Monet is super upset because they're ostensibly friends, and he says, "No, you're not friends."
Yeah. And he basically says, like, we didn't have a chance to make friends. And he's like, you never will. Life is tough. Go towards the lights. Like, get out of here. Back at the lights, Professor Xavier has created an army of multiple mans to counter Weapon 12's army of like extensions of himself.
God, I'd love to see this Danger Room exercise, right?
Oh yeah, yep. I love this dialogue from Weapon 12. Like, I was born to make war on the mutant race. Has war begun? Is this war? Has war begun? Like, just over and over, just whatever they did to this thing that is such an alien life form that we cannot understand. It's thinking in a way that we can't even comprehend.
And I actually like Charles's response to this of like, this isn't war, but you can call it medicine if you like. And as they start to fight, which I think is kind of fascinating.
Yeah, this whole run is a good place for like badass Charles Xavier, which doesn't come up that often. So they're fighting. He's basically fighting him with 1,000 multiple man. Again, I would love to see that done by a better artist. We cut over to Jean Grey, who is caught up with Phantom X, and says, like, get the survivors out of here, Monet. And Monet is like, Jean, like, there were no passengers in the train. Everything went nuts, and he killed Darkstar. Like, things are horrible. And he's like, no, it wasn't Darkstar anymore. Just go back towards the floodlights. And Phantom X has been busying himself with one of these two chambers.
And when Jean walks up, she's like, hey, there's 2 cages, and of course that has to be because one of these is yours, right? Like, that's the reason we've never heard of anybody named Phantom X.
Which again I love. He's like, oh, our minds are leaking, aren't they? Which is just like a cool, creepy line. Mm-hmm. And he basically explains like what Phantom X is. He was also in the liquid time, injected by nano sentinels. Zona turns himself into his enemies, and I'm much smarter than I thought. I'm not going to be anyone's soldier. So basically they created him as a super soldier, but he's busted out of his fake world into the real world.
And she asks him, like, oh, so, like, there is no European super thief. And he's like, there is now. It's all illusion and misdirection. Yeah. Like, that's so good. There wasn't before, but this is the lifestyle that I'm going to create for myself to try to get away from all of this crazy ass shit.
Yeah. And I love this, like, she's like, come on, who was that old woman in the house in the mountains? He's like, what old woman? Which is, I don't really understand exactly what that means. Like, if he's just making a point or if there was some kind of illusion. I don't necessarily caught into the idea of them doing an illusion and fooling the Phoenix of some kind if he's got that power. But it ends up making a cool line. Yeah. Like, if he's saying it, like, it doesn't matter. What old woman, it doesn't matter. And when he does this, he presses a detonator, which cuts over to Weapon 12, whose head explodes.
Yes. And I like Charles is like, okay, yeah, I was kind of hoping we could avoid this, but oh my god, look at that brain.
Yeah.
Becky, look at that
coral.
brain.
Yeah, Becky, did you see that brain? Likes big brains. I cannot lie. Brian Wilson, smart girls. As they're leaving, M is bringing all these people out of the tunnel, and just says, "Yeah, like Darkstar died. Jean's back there with him, but I think we did it." And we cut back to Jean and Phantom X. He's like, and she's like, "Everything's a lie." He's like, "No, Weapon Plus is real. The world is real, but there's no dossier. There's no disc. It's all just stuff I know. It is available at a price. And look, I just found my off switch and fucked it up, disabled it." So that was basically his mission, was not only to stop Weapon 12, but also to stop them from having this power over him.
And he tells Jean, "Oh, hey, like I can tell that you're kind of into me a little bit, and so you're going to let me get away." And she's like, "Okay, fine. You got 10 minutes of falling debris. Now get the fuck out of here."
Yep. Over what? How do you say that word?
Au revoir.
There we go. Thank you. Why did it? Man, blanked.
It happens.
It happens. Don't speak French. They cut over to the X-Men, and they're being debriefed by a military guy. And he basically says, like, we lost one of our own, and we were fooled here. I am not in any mood to play politics with this. You deliberately engineered this emergency. And I like this scene with the corporal who's like, "Oh yeah, I seen you on the TV." Anywho, you can look into my brain if you want. All you're going to see is porn. You bald-headed bigot. Somebody just calling Professor Xavier a bald-headed bigot.
Very funny to me.
I'm pretty here for. He's like, "Oh, I thought you were joking about seeing the porn in your brain." He's like, "Nope. The thing we've been teaching us to protect our privacy. So here's the official story if you want to continue to act in France. The nice X-Men are on hand for a biological weapons accident in the Eurotunnel. Many lives were saved, but one fine mutant died. A hero, boohoo, we love you. Now step back and let us do what we need to do."
And
so basically, like, yeah.
So they're admitting it, but also putting Charles in the position of like not letting, like, none of this is ever going to go public. Like we know it, you know it, but you can't prove it, and so see you later.
Yep. And I like that. It's cool. The idea. One of the things Phantom X said earlier was like, human organizations know more about mutants than you think.
Yeah. Like
they have been studying you. They actually have, be careful with your arrogance about this. And that, I think that is a nice, like, little thing to kind of touch on in this run where, like, a lot of it is about, oh, we don't do human rules. Like, there's no mutant word for monster in the mutant dictionary, all that stuff. Like, it is cool to, be like, listen, you guys, you're getting a little big for your britches.
Yeah.
About this stuff.
Yeah, they're going to get, what is the council with, like, Reed Richards and Doctor Strange or whatever? It's
the Illuminati.
Yeah. You need to shut the fuck up, Charles Xavier.
Yeah, exactly. You literally called it the Illuminati. You got to know that's already a thing, my dude. I mean, just me slipping Professor X a copy of Deus Ex. And just,
I think you may like some of these themes, Charles.
Yeah, Charles, I like these themes. So we cut over, the last panel is Jean Grey saying, like, "I don't know what happened. I'm sorry, but Phantom X slipped by me. Weapon 13 has left the house." So officially revealing his number designation, more advanced than Weapon 12.
And while we were talking, I looked up all of the other weapons because I was just kind of curious if they had revealed all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And if you're curious, let's see. Where do you want to start? Because, like, Weapon 2 was a modified squirrel.
Oh, okay.
So I thought that was good. Weapon 4 created Man-Thing.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Weapon 5, Project Venom, spearheaded by Nick Fury during the Vietnam War, involved bonding wounded soldiers to symbiotes.
Okay.
And created the anti-symbiote task force. Weapon 6, Project Power, was the procedure that gave Luke Cage his powers.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Weapon 7, better known as Project Homegrown, was when they were started making that good kush. No, I'm kidding. The only successful subject of Project Homegrown was Sergeant Frank Simpson, codenamed Nuke.
Oh, I know Nuke.
Yeah. Weapon 8, use of drugs and hypnosis to trigger assassins and sleeper agents. So that one's kind of boring compared to genetically modified squirrels. Weapon 9 led to the creation of Typhoid Mary.
Oh, interesting. Like a Daredevil villainess.
Mm-hmm. Weapon 11 remained a mystery, but was revealed to be another stage of the project created by Romulus. who used Wolverine's son Daken and bonded his
Romulus.
bones to the Muramasa metal in hopes of creating a warrior that can take down Logan. And then
I forgot about Romulus.
And then we get into weapons from the world. Weapon 12, which is the Huntsman. Weapon 13, Phantom X. Weapon 14, the Stepford Cuckoos. That sounds like an interesting story.
Yeah.
I've read this. This is the Phoenix Force thing. Yeah. Weapon 15, Ultimaton.
Oh, hello. It's Ultima Time, baby.
It's Ultimaton, designed to be the Super Sentinel's grand powerhouse.
I hope he says it's Ultima Time all the time.
And then Weapon 16 is the All God.
Interesting.
A living religion that attacks the faith reserves and makes them subservient to the world's sentience. In order for it to work, one has to believe in some sort of God, which I guess is a cool thing.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, I wanted to run through those real quick because I thought those were...
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Maybe I'll do some archaeology to figure out, like, where that, what comics those are from.
Yeah. On the fandom wiki for Marvel has all of that stuff, like, pretty well.
Very cool.
Documented. So yeah, this is
the end of this issue and arc.
Yeah, I liked as an introduction to Phantom X, and as like you said, kind of a mystery that you at the end. It's not really a heist thing, but it's one of those like gotcha kind of situations that continues to work. Like it's like The Sixth Sense as a movie. For everybody that talks about the twist, that movie is still really, really good, even if you already know it going into it. And I feel like that's the same thing with this arc, right? Like even if you know what the ultimate twist is, it's still really, really fun to read and pick up on the clues. And also it's just a really fun story, even if the art is kind of wonky.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Like my only problem is with the art. I generally like this quite a bit. We're going to enter into this like kind of weird section of fill-in issues for a while. The next issue we're covering, I totally forgot about. I was like worried it was going to be the one we're covering is the first one, like where it's just like people wandering around Genosha for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of my least favorite episodes in the arc, or issues in the arc actually. But for a little while, we're going to be kind of without an arc, and then the next big arc we do is Riot at Xavier's. So look forward to that. If you like this show, the best thing to do is head on over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and support it. And ratings, reviews on Apple Podcasts are also useful.
Absolutely. And we appreciate each and every one of those. So thank you for leaving them if you have. And if you haven't or can't because you're not an Apple person, tell your friends about the show. If you have some X-Men people in your life that may appreciate our current take on the X-Men universe, send them a link. Let them know that we're here.
Send them our way. Maybe appreciate you.
See you in a few weeks. Or whatever. I don't know what the schedule of this podcast is.
See you in time.
We've heated up the time of this podcast. Now it's a liquid. I don't know how any of this works.
Yeah. That's what happens if you get the early release on Patreon. Is the time is heated up and you get all the episodes at once.
These are the tales of